Hello. Okay, this looks good. Now let me get to the bottom of this. Hey, G. Rossi, how are you? Yeah, you're the first one here. Audio check, mic check, video check. How do we look? How do we sound? Because I know that the network here is definitely a little fishy today. Let's try this. Hey, Mystery Flower. Good, good. Hey, Rose Phoenix. Hey, Janky. Yo. Alright, I want to try to keep the cat. I still have not gotten to the bottom of the beers on the wall thing. I still have not. I remember the last time. I'm going to try to see the packet this time. Nope, no beers on the wall. Hey, Sam, how are you? I still haven't gotten to the bottom of the beers on the wall thing. That was just super weird. Still, I have not. Hey, DD Man, how are ya? You got a minute left. Yeah, what the? I still have not gotten down to the beers on the wall thing. I thought I had to do. I thought I had to do with the streaming. No, not at all. Not at all. Nope. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. That was still like the most weirdest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, stop and quit without saving. Okay. What the hell? Okay, this should work. I think we're ready to start. All right. Hello, everyone. Yes. Hello. We are now. Wait, hold on. I don't even know what episode. We're on episode 6 now. Yeah, it's been 6 weeks already. So we're 6 weeks in with this season on Twitch. Yeah, we're already on episode 6. To do the usual spiel, hello, I'm Ming Chow, Associate Teaching Professor at Tufts University, and this is Introduction to Security. Alright, so what are we going to do today is I want to shed a little bit of a motivation for each and every one of you here. I get this question a lot. And the question I get often is, especially around this time of the year, how can I check if my systems are secure or not? That's the question in the most loosely speaking way. It's like, how can I check if my systems are secure or not? The other variation of this question is, how can I check if my systems have any vulnerabilities? Now, the word system can mean many different things. It can mean your own computer, it can mean your own servers, it can mean website, it can be apps, list goes on. Okay? In the context of today, we're going to talk about systems broadly. We're going to talk about apps. We're going to talk about your own computers. We're going to talk about web pages and websites. That's the context of systems. So how can you check if your systems have vulnerabilities? Okay, so just to make sure, a quick check that this video stream is okay, just want to give everyone a post check here. What is a vulnerability? What is a vulnerability? Someone chime in. What is a vulnerability? I need someone to chime in. I know there's like an 8-second delay, but I'm also today been noticing something really janky on my network. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. DD Man said weakness. Mystery Flower weakness. Yeah. So an opening, a weakness. Yeah, you all got it. It's a vulnerability is a security weakness. that can be exploited somehow in some way. Yeah, as an opening of some sort. Okay. So, to make a long story short, by the way, speaking of short, today is going to be one of the shortest Twitch streams of the whole season. This is a really, really short stream, but the last message opens up a lot of thoughts, which I'll leave on your. I'll let you all, think that one through. Because it's not an easy answer. What is this flickering thing on the upper right corner of the upper screen? Anyway, the short answer to check if your systems have weaknesses or openings or vulnerabilities is scanning. Yeah, it's scanning, and you've already done scanning before, uh, and we've already talked about scanning in terms of reconnaissance. We talked about reconnaissance and scanning in the context of getting information. You also want to use that same exact idea to check if your systems have any openings or weaknesses or vulnerabilities. I think the first thing is um, we'll start off with probably and arguably one of the most famous tools to check if your systems have vulnerabilities or not. And I want to introduce you to Nessus. Nessus, yes. Nessus is now a commercial product. It used to be free and open source in the early 2000s. Then it changed to be closed source. Okay? Nessus is a tool that is now, the owner is Tenable. Tenable Security, tenable.com. You go to tenable.com, and their bread and butter is a tool, really is a platform called Nessus. Okay, you go to products and you go to Nessus. Okay, it really is, has been like the de facto tool for vulnerability assessment. What a vulnerability assessment, think of it this way, is just assess or scans your systems for vulnerabilities. Okay? There is a free version and there is also a paid version. Okay, there's a Nessus Expert and Professional. For each and every for professionals and for corporations, you have to pay. But there is a Nessus free version for home users and for students to play around. In fact, here it is. Where are we? Here we go. Tenable for Education. Yes. I'm going to share this. Tenable for Education. And there's a website where you can, that has an introduction of using Nessus for teaching vulnerability assessments, and it's free, available for each and every one of you. I use this version for home as well. So how you get started with downloading and using Nessus is the first thing that you want to do is register for an activation code. By the way, I always use a fake first name and last name when I register for Nessus, just to let you all know. You enter in an email address, and what you will get in your email will be a registration on activation code. That's the first thing that you do. Once you have that, then you do they have the downloads? I mean, what happened is once you hit getting started, I'm not going to complete this because I already have one. I already have Nessus installed. Is you click Get Started, and then after that, you'll get an email with your activation code. Then you will get a page to download. So I think that's open to everyone. Here it is. Download Tenable. Here it is. This works. Okay. So this is a version, whether you're using the professional version, whether you're using the free version, it doesn't matter. Everyone is going to download the same exact version of Nessus, depending on what operating system that you're using. So it's also largely platform independent for Linux, for Mac OS, and certainly there's for, what's the Windows version? Certainly there's for Windows as well too. The number of features that you will have enabled once you install Nessus is based on your activation code that you that is based on your activation code. Whether if you're free, you get only a certain number of features, as we'll see in a few moments. If you actually go for the professional version, it's just going to open up everything for you. Okay, so assuming that you've downloaded and installed Nessus, and then you install it. You download and install Nessus. How you run it is generally the same on each and every system. On Mac OS, you have to go to your control panels, your system settings, and there's going to be an option to turn on the Nessus plugin. What the Nessus plugin really is, it's just going to run a server on your computer, and it's going to be up and running each and as long as your computer is running. Okay, I installed a version of Nessus on a Raspberry Pi Linux server at home. So the next step is, after you've installed and downloaded, you download and install Nessus, you've turned it on. How you run Nessus is you actually go to open up your favorite browser, then you go to https colon the IP address. If you install this on your local computer, it's going to be localhost, so 127.0.0.1. If you install it on server at somewhere, it's going to be that server IP address. So I installed it at 192.168.1.8, and then you do a colon 8834. All right, you're going to get a potential. This is going to, everyone's going to get this. Okay, potential security risk. Just hit advance, accept the risk, and continue. And so you're going to get the screen called Nessus. Depending on your version of Nessus, is he going to say Nessus Essentials or is he going to say Nessus Professional? When you're first starting out, you're going to be asked to create a username and password. Okay, I entered in my username and password, and I'm going to hit sign in. And so here we go. The first thing that when you start out Nessus, it's going to do a basic network scan of your entire network. If you're using Nessus Essentials, the free version, as I am, it's going to actually do a basic networks. It's going to do a host discovery scan. That's the first thing. So what a host discovery scan is, it's going to check your entire network for all the computers connected to your network. There you go. This is the first thing that's always done. And I did this, earlier today. It took around 24 minutes. Okay. What it will also do, there you go. This tab, you'll see all the vulnerabilities. So the first thing that you're going to do is a host discovery scan, which is going to just identify all the connected computers on your network. Once you do finish a host discovery scan, you have the option to do a complete basic network scan. It's going to use the data from your host discovery scan, and it's going to now thoroughly scan each and every device that it found on your network for vulnerabilities. I last did a basic network scan on May 26th, and it was like really late, really early in the morning. So here I'm going to show you. I don't want to do this again because it does take up a lot of time and resources. So if I actually click on this, the basic network scan, here you go. You can see all the hosts, all the devices on my network at home. 192.168.1.1 anytime you see a 1.1, a dot 1.1, it's probably your router, your actual router. 192.168.1.8 is a dev server, media server that I have. I forget what all these other ones are off the top of my head, but I know one's my phone, one's my iPad, one's my actual laptop, one's my watch, I think it is, and the other's a light bulb. Okay? And it's going to do a thorough scan of each and every device on your network, and it's going to try to look for vulnerabilities. Okay? Now, here's a quiz question for each and every one of you. Okay? So I can go drill down. Let's go to 192.168.1.1. I'm going to click on 192.168.1.1, and it identified 29 vulnerabilities. Here are all the different vulnerabilities. You can see the severity of each and every vulnerability. Some of them has some issues are like completely all over the place in terms of severity, like this one, like the mix one. And you can see that there's a self-signed certificate on the router, another self-signed, and that is a CVSS score. If you're wondering what a CVSS score is, well, a CVSS score is Common Vulnerability Scoring System. Okay, it's a free and open industry standard for assessing the severity of computer system vulnerabilities. Where 10 is the absolute highest, like the skies are falling. 1 is absolutely none. Um, okay, who doesn't? Who I know MITRE doesn't maintain it. I think it is NIST that actually does this now. Okay, was released in 2019. Okay, all right. So number 10 is um, skies are falling. CVSS score that is like a 1 is like not important at all. But here's a question for each and every one of you here. You see that I'm looking at 29 vulnerabilities for 192.168.1.1. I'm also seeing vulnerabilities for 192.168.1.8. You can actually mouse over. There's 5 medium ones. And you have 97 info. The question for each and every one of you is, what do you think the vulnerabilities are? Are they known, or are they known to the world, or are they unknown to the world? So the question is, when you're seeing these vulnerabilities that got identified, are these vulnerabilities already known to the whole world, or are they unknown? That's the question for each and every one of you. Which one do you think? Is it A or is it B? It's a whole bunch of little ones here. You think these vulnerabilities are known or unknown to the world? Yeah, it's golden, as Golden Energy says, is option A. All the vulnerabilities that tools like Nessus scan for are always the vulnerabilities that are already known to the whole world. Okay? It's always known to the world. Um, it is extremely difficult, if not almost impossible, to actually check for vulnerabilities that people don't know about yet. That is a completely black market, and a really, 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 really big black market. Really black market. Okay? Now, remember there was a lab that we had in this course where, students had to break into a target. 34.67.36.57. Okay? So 34.67.36.57. Here we have this website. This is a real website that is publicly accessible by anyone who knows this IP address, like everyone here. Now, I think we may be wondering, what kind of vulnerabilities are on this system? What are the vulnerabilities? Well, there's a couple of things that we can do. If you want to do a basic vulnerability scan of like general vulnerabilities of what's happening on 34.67.36.57, what you can do is you can go all the way back to your home screen, create a brand new scan, and here we go. What do we want to scan for? Do you want to do a host discovery scan, or do you want to check for something with vulnerabilities? Because today we're talking about vulnerabilities, or you're probably going to actually just focus on the vulnerabilities that you can scan for in Nessus. You can do a basic network scan, you can do an advanced scan, you can do an advanced dynamic scan, you can do a malware scan, mobile device scan, you can do for specific vulnerabilities like WannaCry ransomware, which is MS17-010, a whole bunch of really specific vulnerabilities that you can scan for. You can even do compliance check for on using Nessus if you're doing, like, for example, like payment card system. And this, the compliance part, is where that is so critical in the real world, especially you're doing anything with payments. So we can opt for doing a network scan of the 34.67.36.57 IP address. So how you would do that is the following. Let's click the basic network scan. And let's say Twitch, we can name this whatever you want. Twitch October 12th. Description is demonstration. Okay. Scanning for vulns on the honeypot. You can save this in my scans folder, and all you have to do is just punch in the IP address for the target. That's it. At the most rudimentary level, that's all you need to do. Hit save. Okay, you hit save. That's it. Hit the run button, and there you go. And now Nessus is automatically going to scan that target for all different types of vulnerabilities. Be careful though. Be very careful. You only want to run Nessus or do vulnerability scannings on computer systems that you have permission to. So before you actually do any sort of vulnerability scanning or whatsoever, especially if you're on the job, you got to get written permission first. But that goes for anything that you do, like even password cracking of like systems. Get permission first. So when I actually, back in the days when I used to do vulnerability scanning for Tufts computer science servers, I had to ask the system administrators, just want to let you know that I'm doing this. They say, okay. So you give them a heads up, because when you do vulnerability scanning, it's going to create lots of traffic. So this thing is currently being run right now. The other thing is that is also very important to mention about Nessus Essentials. You can only have, I think you can only scan to up to like a certain number of IP addresses. Maybe like 16, I believe it was. I believe it is. Only 16. So you just can't, scan 200 IP addresses using the free version of Nessus. So it's still going. So I've found two vulnerabilities right now on 34.67.36.57, but they're just basic information kind of level stuff right now. You can come back to this later on. So go out, get a coffee, and come back to this at a later time. Okay. So I'm still going to leave this up and running. It's going to take a while to find all known vulnerabilities on the system. Now, some of you folks may absolutely hate the fact that, Nessus is a commercial product. And I get that. And I get that a lot of times. So maybe wondering, why am I talking about Nessus if it is a commercial product? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, it is like the de facto. Does that traffic of the scan itself create an issue? Yeah, it does. That's a great question, Mystery Flower. The answer is, generally speaking, yes. Does that traffic of the scan itself create an issue? It does. It basically boils down to volume. And also, as you will notice a little bit later on, it's going to look for a lot of really weird stuff. Okay? So the answer is it does on a couple of levels. It's just, number one is volume, and number two is that the requests are sometimes really, really, really strange. Like, if you're a system administrator or you're a defender and you're taking a look at if you're taking a look at Wireshark or your logs, you're gonna notice like, what the hell is going on? Like, why am I getting a whole bunch of requests to //////PASSWD? That's an issue. So the answer is mystery for absolutely, yeah. Okay. So number one, Nessus has been around for so long, and it really is so well known of a tool. It's so commonly used in the real world to scan systems for vulnerabilities. You got anything good? Nope. All right, 3 vulnerabilities so far. Okay. The other thing is there an open source alternative to Nessus? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. It's called OpenVAS, OpenVAS. Okay, OpenVAS is. You can take a look at the Wikipedia information. It was originally known as GNessus, Gnessus. It Nessus in around 2000. Here it is. In 2005, changed to a closed source license. Then OpenVAS just became a fork of Nessus at that time. Okay? So how OpenVAS worked is very similar to Nessus. The only one thing about OpenVAS that is a little bit different, um, it is, it, you know, here it is, that's their website. It's not as pretty as the commercial product. Okay, it is free and open source. It's not as pretty. That's the only one thing. And the user interface is, it's a little more difficult to get around. But in terms of the functionality, how it works, it's close to identical of, oh, here we go. Here's a nice article from Rapid7, how to use OpenVAS to audit the security of your network. It's a little bit old. Yep, configure a scan. Yeah, this looks very familiar. Add a scan target, which is basically what we did in Nessus. You can change the list of port scan. You can add credentials. This is everything that is in Nessus right now. Okay, change the vulnerability, changing the network vulnerability test. I'll just copy this, paste this for everyone. Okay. Yeah, everything is the same. All right. So OpenVAS is the free and open source alternative to Nessus. If you don't like to install proprietary software, which I know some people don't, OpenVAS is the way to go. Okay. The other one, since we're here at Rapid7, Rapid7 is a cybersecurity company based in Boston. They're based in Boston, and they're famous for being the maintainers and owners of Metasploit. Metasploit does not only vulnerability management, but a lot of, exploitation as well. So, I'll talk about Metasploit a little bit today. It's such a very common tool, popular tool for anyone doing cybersecurity. But Rapid7 have Nexpose, which is a vulnerability management software. So Nexpose is also not free. It's corporate, and it's a vulnerability scanner. Okay, collect, prioritize, remediate. There you go. You can opt for a free trial if you want. Okay, you can opt for a free trial. Okay. So tools like Nessus, OpenVAS, Nexpose can check for vulnerabilities on your systems, like across any type of system, whether it's a full server, full computer, within mobile apps, web apps, you name it. It does a general vulnerability scanning. But what happens if, okay, you want to get something more specific? What if we want to just scan websites for vulnerabilities? is there a way that we can scan vulnerable websites and web pages for vulnerabilities? We don't want to scan the entire server. We don't care about some stuff with an old version of SSH being used. We don't care about, FTP server exposed. Well, we may, but we don't care about the mail server. We don't care about that kind of stuff. We don't want to care about the operating system level patches. We don't care. We only want to care about stuff that is happening in port 80 and on port 443, like on websites. Like, it's just websites, so we don't have to deal with so much more stuff that we're not responsible for. So is there a way that we can check websites for vulnerabilities? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely you can. And there are a lot more tools that you can use to scan for vulnerabilities in specific systems and products such as websites. You can use Nessus. Okay, you can use Nessus to scan for vulnerabilities. This is going really slow. Okay, now we got to up 18 vulnerabilities. Okay, whatever. You can use Nessus to scan for web vulnerabilities and websites, but it's slow. Okay, it can take a while. Let's go back to 34.67.36.57. Here we go. But I also now want to give you a preview for the next several weeks. Starting next week, we're going to get into web security. Probably the biggest fish in the fry, still up to this day. Now, when we're honing our skills in web security, when we're trying to learn web security, it's important that we have a legal playground to attack and play with. And on GitHub, there are many, not hundreds, but many, many, many deliberately vulnerable web applications that you can download and use. One of the most famous deliberately vulnerable web application that you can use is called the damn vulnerable web application. So I have an instance installed here. If you go to /DVWA, there you go. The damn vulnerable web application. The damn vulnerable web application is a web application that is deliberately vulnerable. Now, I know I'm not supposed to expose these to the world to play with, but in the context of teaching, hey, it makes sense. Okay? So we'll cover this next week. There's also another deliberately vulnerable web application called Mutilidae. Okay? And this is what we're going to scan for vulnerabilities in a little bit. There's also Mutilidae as well. Both the damn vulnerable web application and Mutilidae are free and open source and on GitHub. The GitHub damn vulnerable web application, here's your link. And for Mutilidae, okay, as you can see, the README will say, well, the damn vulnerable web application is a PHP MySQL web application that is damn vulnerable. Its main goal is to be an aid for security professionals to test their skills and tools in a legal environment. Mutilidae is another one, another deliberately vulnerable web application. It's a free, open source, deliberately vulnerable web application providing a target for web security training. We're going to be using both in this course. That's on GitHub. Free and open source. Okay, loaded with vulnerabilities. But for those of you who are on right now and have done Lab 4 the alarm, does anyone remember what vulnerabilities I asked you to scan for? Now I'm going to open up my terminal. Does anyone know? Remember, if you finished Lab 4 for the security class, what were the vulnerabilities or the things that I asked to scan for? No, RDP, okay, go on, RDP, SMB, VNC, yep, what else? I'm actually kind of surprised that I didn't get this question this semester, which I felt was really odd. fin, yep, a Christmas tree scan, yep, you name it. And there's one more. There's one more that no one has mentioned yet, and everyone forgot to mention. I'm actually surprised that no one brought it up this semester. And there you go. Gita Rossi said in the clear login info, and mystery underscore flower says it's not Nikito, it's Nikto. Okay. I asked you to scan for to detect Nikto scanning. So I'm surprised that no one asked, what the hell is Nikto? Well, what Nikto is a free and open source vulnerability scanner for web applications. Nikto has been around for almost 2 decades. I absolutely love Nikto because it's all command line and it's so quick. Nikto is a open source web server scanner which performs comprehensive tests against web servers for multiple items, including 6,700 potentially dangerous files, yada yada yada. You know, it also checks for server configuration issues. The list goes on. Here, one very important note is Nikto is not designed to be a stealthy tool, so it is noisy as hell. Okay, it will check a web server. It will test a web server at the quickest as possible. Okay. Here's the one interesting thing: is not every check is a security problem, though most are. There can be a lot of false positives. There's a lot of features. Nikto is also available on GitHub. There you go. It's a web server scanner. And it's literally one of my absolute favorite tools because it's noisy. Well, can be. It does a pretty good job in testing and checking for vulnerabilities on a website, and it's also command line based. That also means it's pretty damn fast. Okay, so here's how you run Nikto. So earlier today, I made a clone of the Nikto app. Here it is. So I'm going to cd Nikto, and it has a README. All right, same as what you just saw on GitHub. So you have a Docker file, devdoc. The main executable is just one script, a Perl script. So you cd program, you do an ls, and there you go. So there's a couple ways to run Nikto. One way is just /nikto.pl. Look at that. That's it. So Nikto's no host specified, so you need to specify a host, which is in the form of an IP address. Okay, so you go ahead /nikto.pl minus host equals 34.67.36.57, and then you hit enter, and I'll watch what happens. Target IP, the target host name, the target port number is going to by default is going to go to port 80. The start time, and it's now just going to run Nikto for the entire website. And you're going to see a whole bunch of things that are going to pop up. Or maybe not. If you actually want to see what's going on under the hood in Wireshark, it should be making a whole bunch of requests. Here we go. A whole bunch of requests that are made. TCP.port equals 80. Oh, yeah. This is all the stuff that Nikto is sending, like junk99.asp, junk988.asp, login.easp. Oh yeah, this is so, Nikto is noisy. It's going to make a lot of requests. Lots and lots and lots and lots of weird requests. 67.tar.gz. Alright. Okay. By the way, if I actually do a follow HTTP stream on this now, what do I get? Did they actually hide recently? I think they may. Nope. Those clowns still got it. They still write Nicto. Oh yeah, they still write Nicto on the HTTP headers and footers. I believe they do. Oh my god, it's gonna go through an entire. Oh my. Holy cow. Alright, we'll close this. Alright. How we doing? Well, we're not getting that many interesting things yet. Well, the reason why is I'm gonna quit this without saving. Well, you can get more. Right now, it's trying to go through the entire 34.67.36.57 website. The thing is, it's going to look for all, it's going to brute force its way, look for every single combination or any interesting directories or anything. You want to be more specific and look for and want to start at a specific location, such as Mutilidae. Let's say we just want to find all the vulnerabilities in the Mutilidae folder. Here it is. Well, I'm just going to run through this app right now. Toggle security. Alright. View the log. Alright, there's a whole bunch of things that are happening here. Alright. What's going on? Well, we can use Nicto now to just bust open Mutilidae. Let's dig a little deeper. But you would add minus root equals Mutilidae. So what this will do is going to only look for stuff in the Mutilidae folder or the Mutilidae app. So it's going to run Nicto at 34.67.36.57. It's not going to start off at the root directory where you actually see the Iranian hacker. It's only going to look for vulnerabilities within the Mutilidae web application. Notice what happens. Now you're going to see probably a lot more vulnerabilities. Probably some eye-popping and glaring ones. Come on, I know this was working earlier today. Anything in Nessus so far? Ooh, here we go. Ooh, here we go. Now we got 4 vulnerabilities. Look at it, we got 4 medium ones, 3 low ones, and 48 info. So Nessus is still working. Interesting. Now we're noticing a whole bunch of vulnerabilities with regards to SSH, TLS issues. Wow, okay. Now, when you see red here, that means critical vulnerabilities or high. And when you see high, I mean critical or high vulnerability that need to be fixed ASAP. Okay. I'm back here. Let's go back to the terminal and we don't. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Notice something? Does anyone notice something in the results so far? So Nicto just busted open the Mutilidae app, and it has identified a few notable open directories and vulnerabilities. Apparently there's a classes folder, there's a passwords folder, there's a JavaScript folder, there's a documentation folder, there's an includes folder, and there's a robots.txt. There we go. Mutilidae login.php. PHP includes error. It may indicate local or remote file inclusion as possible. We'll cover that next week. Okay, so notice Mutilidae just busted open Nicto just busted open the Mutilidae app and has identified there's an include folder, documentation, JavaScript folder, passwords folder, classes folder. Let me ask you this. Now, given these these results from Nicto, what do you think I want to do? What do you think I want to do next? Anyone? what is definitely of interest to you right now? Anyone? Well, Mystery Flower just chimed in at a very interesting time because Mutilidae also had identified this. There is a way to actually look at the /etc/passwd file on the system because of a vulnerability in index.php. Let's see, and then we'll come back to the password one. Okay, now actually, why don't we do your thing first? Why don't we do Mystery Flowers? You said, look at the passwords. So there is a line meaning folder, passwords. Watch what happens when I type passwords. All right, Mystery Flower. What do you want to do now? Mystery Flower, it's all you. What do you want to do? You want to open accounts.txt? All right. Accounts.txt are the accounts for the Mutilidae web application. And there you go. So we have admin. We have the username, the password, like the full username. There you go. It's all for you, mystery_flower. Thanks to Nicto, it identified that there is an open password, for there is a password folder. That's a very weird name. Well, a very easy name. There's like, to what they call, what's that term called? Enumerate through? Okay. Usually, if you're going to be looking for, vulnerabilities on a website or web application, you just want to throw in to the URL very well-known and popular folder names, such as password or admin, stuff like that. So these are the accounts for the Mutilidae web application. So if I go back, wait a minute, what was it again? Admin pass. Okay, I'm going to log in, admin pass. I'm going to log in. Look, I logged in as the admin. Look at that. User authenticated. Boom. Can I log out of this thing? Ooh, yeah, there you go. Hey, how do you log out? Okay, I logged out. All right, let's go back to the passwords again. I guess, hey, I didn't have to do much in terms of exploitation. Kevin and 42. All right, I'm logged out. I'm going to log back in. I'm not logged in. How do I log in again? Oh, yeah. Username is Kevin. There was a password of Kevin and 42. What? Shut up. The hell? What do you mean dangerous characters deleted? I had to look into the reason why the hell I was doing that. Anyway. Scotty and password. Let's do that. Why is this acting up on me, this thing today? Scotty and password. I logged in as Scotty. There you go. Logged in user, Scotty. There you go. Also, just for my curiosity, I want to do a view log to see. Ooh, here we go. Mutilidae. Yeah. Looks like these are all traffic from Nicto. Interesting. Even tested for CVE 2014-6271. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, now we want to go back to the NICTO results. Ooh, more. I want to copy this. Because apparently NICTO has identified a way that you can actually view the system/etc/password PASSWD file by way of index.php. Let's take a look. Delete, paste, enter. Found it. And there you go. And this is the entire /etc/PASSWD file on this system at 34.67.36.57. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So that's what NICTO is. So now you know what NICTO is. Is a vulnerability scanner. That hits web applications. Yeah, and it's noisy. There's a robots.txt file. Let's go to that. Well, that didn't help. The user agent, classes, documentation. What happens when I go to documentation? Documentation. Not good. Not good. Okay. So, how are we doing on the Nessus scan? Nope. Is it done? Yeah, done. 4 vulnerabilities, 3 low. All right. So, I guess now this is a good place to stop today's presentation. So here we are. We have 4 vulnerabilities, 4 medium vulnerabilities, 3 low ones, and a whole bunch of info. NICTO is still running. NICTO, Nessus, OpenVAS, Nexpose. These are all vulnerability scanners. So, my question for each and every one of you is this. Are these important tools? I guess that's my first question. Are vulnerability scanning tools important? The second question, which is a follow-up, is a little bit more deep, which is, say for the sake of argument that you run a Nessus scan, you found a whole bunch of vulnerabilities and you fix them, and then you run a Nessus scan again and it doesn't return any low or medium vulnerabilities, just blue. Does that mean that you are safe and secure? That's the second question. That's the more difficult question. So question number 1 is, are vulnerability scanning tools important? The second question is, say you fixed all the vulnerabilities from a vulnerability scanner, or you run a scan like Nessus and NICTO and have found no vulnerabilities. Does that mean that you are safe and secure? Okay. So I got a couple of answers. So number 1 is better to understand your own vulnerabilities before a potential attacker does. Okay? It's important, but not always 100%. Dale Jacobs says yes and then no. Okay? That only find G.D. Rossi actually nailed something that is absolutely very key to know, is that only find publicly known vulnerabilities. Mystery_flower said 1, sure, 2, no, because there always be more. There could always be more. And this is what I want to get at. And this is a very important conversation to have. Now, everyone needs good mentors in life. And I want to give a shout out to Gary McGraw. Gary McGraw is, quote unquote, the father of software security. I learned from him, and I was very lucky to learn from him he also introduced me to cybersecurity in 2004. When I took his software security course in 2004, he introduced this concept of the Badness-O-Meter. And the Badness-O-Meter looks like this. The Badness-O-Meter. I want to show you a picture. The Badness-O-Meter looks like this. There's only two levels. Either you're in deep trouble or who knows. Okay? And what he's trying to point at is this. The important thing is, despite, as Gita Rossi said, vulnerability scanners will only check systems for publicly known vulnerabilities. I repeat, vulnerability scanners like Nessus, OpenVAS, Nexpose, and Nikto, and host of others will only check for publicly known vulnerabilities. That's it. But if you fail those tests and it identifies that you have publicly known vulnerabilities, you are in the deep trouble level. You got to get those things fixed, especially if they're critical or high. You got to get those fixed right away. But even if Nessus or OpenVAS or Nikto or Nexpose or whatever vulnerability scanning software out there is, it doesn't return any high or medium or critical vulnerabilities. Okay, in fact, what if it doesn't return anything? It doesn't mean that you're secure at all. It really means who the hell knows. Okay? And as Kyra said, the whole concept of zero-day vulnerabilities is that they exist the whole time and you're only just finding out about it. Who knows how many are still out there that we don't know about. Okay? So the importance of a vulnerability scanner is it will just check for known vulnerabilities. But if you even fail that test, then you're in deep trouble. But even if you run vulnerability scanners and return nothing, well, who the hell knows? Okay, and he introduced this concept of the Badness-O-Meter. What the hell is it? Here it is. It's an old article from 2006. And takes some freedom to tinker. And there was an argument that's made as, so what's the real value of these application security tools, especially vulnerability scanners, okay? And tools like Nessus and Nikto, they actually treat software applications like black boxes, okay? And it's a very simple approach, okay? That being said, application security tools can tell you something about security, namely if you're in very deep trouble. That is, if your software fails any of the skin can't tell, you have some serious security work to do. Okay? And this is what he's trying to get at. Okay? So that's where the value of vulnerabilities scanning tools are. It's just going to check for known vulnerabilities, but that's it. But if you fail that stuff, you're in deep trouble. You got to get that fixed right away. Now, as Kyra said, as Kyra Tor VI7 said, unfortunately, there are just so many vulnerabilities out there we don't know about. I mean, there could be a new vulnerability that people knew about that was exposed, like that was known internally for years, but were never disclosed to the public. In fact, we just had one of these. We just had a zero-day vulnerability announced this week. Of course, now it's not a 0 day because it's now publicly in the know. And that was Google. Google mitigated the largest DDoS attack to date, peaking above 398 million requests per second. This was from 2 days ago. Over the last few years, but where did it say that it was a 0 day? I think it was under the rapid reset. Yeah, once there is a CVE that gets opened up for vulnerability, that means the vulnerability goes from 0 day to publicly known. That's what CVEs are. Anything that CVE is publicly known, no longer a 0 day. Really? Yep. I thought, yeah, here it is. This is from 2 days ago. Mayday. Google disclosed a zero-day vulnerability, which was they finally disclosed it. The HTTP 2 protocol. It is. So this happens. Did they specifically use 0-day? No, they didn't specifically, but it's known as a zero. But once Google disclosed it, and became not a 0-day. So people didn't even know about this until 2 days ago. How long have people been knowing about? How you may be wondering, how long have attackers known about this vulnerability, used it for their own advantage? How long? Unfortunately, we can't answer that question. This vulnerability could be a couple years old. It could be 5 years old. It can be 10 years old. We don't know. We don't know how long this vulnerability has been out there for. But it just finally got publicly disclosed 2 days ago. The NSA have had vulnerabilities that they've only known for themselves, for their work, for years. They hoard them for years, and they only get disclosed and known if someone accidentally stumbles on them, or someone actually broke into the NSA and stole like their work. But 0 days is a very, very, very big market. So the important lesson is, if, you know, even if you pass a vulnerability scan with flying colors, doesn't mean your systems are secure. Who the hell knows how many 0 days are, how many vulnerabilities are out there? And that's something to keep in mind all the time. Is in this world that we live in, especially when we depend so much on computer technologies, and just consider everything is vulnerable. Okay, we want to fix the critical and high vulnerabilities, but that doesn't. You shouldn't just say, "Hey, I'm done. I'm secure. My job." No, that never happens. The work keeps going. There are more vulnerabilities out there. Too many that we don't know about. The one more final important thing about terminology, and this is a really big problem in the cybersecurity industry, it's a very big one, is we use tools like Nessus. We use tools like OpenVAS, Nikto, um, Nexpose, other vulnerability scanning software. This is a very important term. Vulnerability scanning is not the same thing as penetration testing. There's a serious difference between the two. A vulnerability scan, like what you do for using Nikto, oh, it's finally done, or using Nessus, they're only going to list out possible or potential vulnerabilities that you have. Sometimes a vulnerability scan, and it is also said as a disclaimer, there may be false positives. Okay? A penetration test is that you actually have to break in through the system. You actually have to break into the system and prove that this vulnerability exists. Not only that, but you also can gather all the information. Here's an example of what we did today that is both a penetration test and a vulnerability scan. The very good one is when we showed the list of usernames and passwords to the Utility web application. Okay? Here, Nikto said, okay, there is a password directory. Okay? This is the result of a vulnerability scan. The penetration is you actually have to go into the website. You actually have to go into the website, go to the password folder, get to the account, look at the account.txt document, get all 23 username and passwords, okay? And then of course, the icing on the cake is you actually have to log into the application using one of those accounts. That is a penetration test. A penetration test is that you actually have to you actually have to prove and break into the system to show that you have not only broken into the system, but perhaps also steal all the data, yada, yada, yada. That's a penetration test. Vulnerability scanning is just informational. It just, think of it as a report. The problem in the cybersecurity industry is this. Too many customers and people pay tens of thousands of dollars to a cybersecurity company that does pen testing. But all they do is but all the cybersecurity company does is run an ESA scan, get the report, change the logo on the report, and give it back to you, and that's your penetration test. That's not a penetration test. That's a vulnerability scan or a vulnerability assessment. Okay? They didn't go and actually physically break into the system. Okay? And that, so now you know there's a big difference between penetration tests and vulnerability scanning. Okay? You're paying that much money for a pen test. You need to expect you need to expect the company to actually go and prove that the vulnerabilities exist. Just printing out the damn Nessus scan result as a report and then handing that back as a penetration test is not good enough. Because quite often, a lot of the vulnerabilities listed in a Nessus scan are false positive. There's two different things. Okay? Vulnerability assessment is just a report, usually just straight from a Nessus or a Nycto scan. Penetration test is a full proof that you can actually go through and exploit the vulnerabilities. And that's it, folks. That's all I have for today. A little short today. We have 10 minutes left. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. And then starting next week, we're going to finally delve deeper into web security and dumping data, tens of thousands of records off of databases. See ya. Thanks all.